You walk into a room with 6 people, you shake their hands, you talk about the weather. What you don't realize is that statistically, at least one of those people has a personality so toxic, so self-absorbed, that their entire life is built around using you. 1 in 6. Look around, who is it? Well, hello there, you have found your way back to my channel. We are still talking about toxic personalities, and I keep talking about it because I've heard from so many of you that you have these people in your lives. But today, we're going to put a number on it. We're going to talk about just how common this is. Then we're going to give you the field guide to spot M, and we're going to tackle the $1 million question. Can these people ever really change? I'm focusing on this because when you have the power and insight to understand and manage these people, you have an incredible edge in life. And I want you to have that power. Now, you hear that number, 1 in 6, and you might think I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not. When you combine the full-blown narcissistic personality disorder with the high-level narcissistic traits we see across the population, the numbers are staggering. Some research puts it at 10-15% or even higher in certain environments. Let me break this down for you, because this isn't some made-up stat. It's backed by what experts have been seeing in studies in clinics. And yeah, even in my own experience over 45 years dealing with folks just like this. Think about it in a group of friends at the office or even in your own family gathering. That percentage means someone's likely carrying those traits. And let me tell you, it's not always the loud ones you suspect. Sometimes it's the quiet complainer, the one who seems so put upon by the world. Now look, it's not like you either are one or you aren't. All human behavior is on a continuum. You can have some traits without having the full-blown disorder, but you don't care if they check all the boxes for a diagnosis. You care how they impact your life. See, narcissism isn't a black and white thing. It's a spectrum like a dimmer switch on a light. At one end, you've got folks with a healthy sense of self, confident, sure, but they don't step on others to shine. Crank it up a bit, and you get those who brag a little too much, always steering the conversation back to themselves. Dial it all the way, and boom, you've got the full disorder, entitlement, manipulation, zero empathy. And here's the kicker. Most narcissists aren't at the extreme. They're somewhere in the middle, blending in, making your life miserable without you even pinning it down. That's why it's sneaky. You might think, oh, that's just how Uncle Joe is, always one-upping everyone. But over time, it drains you, doesn't it? It chips away at your confidence, your peace. This isn't just an academic exercise. These are the people who will suck you dry, throw you under the bus, and gaslight you until you're doubting your own damn name. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're at work, busting your tail on a project, and this colleague swoops in, takes the credit, and when you call them on it, they twist it around like you're the problem. Why are you so sensitive? They say, or in a relationship, maybe it's a partner who needs constant praise, but the minute you need support, they're nowhere to be found. They make everything about them, and before you know it, you're apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. That's the real damage. It's not just annoying, it's destructive. It erodes trust. It kills joy. It leaves you isolated. And get this, in high-stakes environments like corporate boardrooms or Hollywood sets, that percentage skyrockets. Why? Because we reward boldness, charisma. Even if it's fake, we mistake their self-absorption for leadership. But trust me, true leaders lift others up. Narcissists just climb over them. I've seen it time and again on my show. Folks come in heartbroken, confused, saying, "Dr. Phil, I don't know what happened. I thought they loved me." And after digging in, it's clear narcissistic traits were there from the jump, but they were masked. One woman told me her husband would charm everyone at parties, but at home he'd belittle her dreams, make her feel small so he could feel big. That's the pattern. They feed off your energy, your admiration, and give nothing back. And statistically, with 10-15% of the population showing these traits, you're bound to encounter them. In a city of 1 million people, that's 100,000 potential energy vampires walking around. Scary, right? But knowledge is power. Once you recognize it, you can protect yourself. I want this to be a conversation. Let me ask you this and be honest. Have you ever felt like you're constantly walking on eggshells around someone, afraid to say the wrong thing? Let me have your comments on that, because you are not alone. So many of you have shared stories just like this, dodging moods, second-guessing every word, feeling like you're the crazy one. It's exhausting, isn't it? Like trying to navigate a minefield blindfolded. And that's exactly how they keep control, by making you doubt yourself. But here's the truth, it's not you, it's them. And recognizing that is the first step to breaking free. So they're out there. They're at your work, in your neighborhood, maybe even in your family. The first step to protecting yourself is identification. All right, this is the one you think of when you hear the word narcissist. This is the classic definition. They're not subtle. They're grandiose. They're bold. They're brash. They have to be the center of attention. They have an exaggerated need for admiration. It's not a preference. It's a deep, insatiable need. Let me tell you, these folks walk into a room and it's like the spotlight follows them whether you want it to or not. They're the ones dominating every conversation, turning every story back to themselves. You start talking about your weekend hike, and suddenly it's all about that time they climbed Everest and their dreams are something bigger and better. It's exhausting, isn't it? And trust me, I've seen this play out on my show more times than I can count. People come in frustrated saying, "Dr. Phil, this person in my life just sucks all the air out of the room." And they're right. These classic narcissists aren't hiding. They're broadcasting their supposed superiority like it's a public service announcement. Now, let's break this down with what I call the field guide to spotting them. Think of this as your checklist, something you can pull out mentally when you're dealing with someone who sets off those alarm bells. First up, that grandiose sense of self-importance. They just think they are something special, better than you, above you. They talk about themselves like they're a gift to the world. It's not quiet confidence, it's over-the-top arrogance. They'll drop names, exaggerate achievements, and make sure you know how exceptional they are. I've had guests who describe bosses like this, always boasting about deals they've closed, even if the team did the heavy lifting. It's like they're scripting their own hero movie, and everyone else is just an extra. Next on the list, entitlement. They feel entitled to special treatment. They expect the best of everything, and they don't believe the rules apply to them. They'll cut in line. They'll demand the best table. Picture this, you're at a restaurant, and this person is berating the waiter because their water isn't chilled just right. Or in a family setting, they expect everyone to cater to their schedule, no questions asked. It's not about fairness, it's about them deserving more because, in their mind, they're superior. And let me tell you, this entitlement isn't charming. It's a red flag waving in your face. They believe the world owes them, and if it doesn't deliver, watch out for the fallout. Then there's that superficial charm and charisma. They can be incredibly charming and charismatic when they want something. But it's superficial. There's nothing real behind it. Their relationships are a mile wide and an inch deep. Oh, they turn it on like a switch, smiling, complimenting, making you feel like the most important person in the room. But it's all an act to get what they need: admiration, favors, whatever serves them. I've seen it in relationships where one partner is dazzled at first, thinking they've found someone magnetic. But peel back the layers and there's no depth, no genuine connection. It's like dating a hologram. Looks great from afar, but up close it's empty. These folks collect people like trophies, but they don't invest emotionally. Why? Because true bonds require give and take, and they're all take. Speaking of take, let's talk about their exploitative nature. They will use you and abuse you. They will take credit for your work. They have no loyalty to anyone but themselves. This is where the real damage happens. At work, they might steal your ideas and present them as their own. In friendships, they'll borrow money and never pay it back, or use your connections without a thank you. And in romantic relationships, they'll drain you emotionally, financially, whatever it takes to keep their world spinning around them. I remember a guy on my show who described his ex-partner like this. She'd manipulate situations to her advantage, leaving him holding the bag every time. No remorse, no apology. It's ruthless, and it's all about what you can do for them. They see people as tools, not equals. And finally, that poor reaction to criticism. You cannot give them feedback. The slightest criticism is perceived as a massive attack, and they will rage at you. This is a big one, folks. Even constructive advice sets them off. Say something like, "Hey, maybe next time we could try it this way," and boom, they're defensive, angry, turning it back on you. "Why are you always attacking me?" They'll say, even if you're just pointing out a small thing. It's because their ego is so fragile underneath all that bluster. True confidence absorbs feedback. This is just a house of cards waiting to topple. I've dealt with this in therapy sessions. Try to gently suggest change, and they explode or shut down completely. It's their way of protecting that inflated self-image. We reward this stuff in our culture. We see these people as leaders. As CEOs in the entertainment industry, we mistake their swagger for real confidence. But someone who is truly confident doesn't need to tell you about it all the time. Think about it. Real leaders inspire others. They build teams. They share the glory. These classic types, they hog it all. I've crossed paths with folks in high places who fit this bill perfectly. One executive I knew would strut into meetings, barking orders, taking bows for every success, but blame the team for failures. And society eats it up because it looks like strength. But let me tell you, it's not. True strength is quiet. It doesn't need an audience. I grew up around some tough characters, and the ones who were really capable never had to brag. These narcissists. They're compensating for something deep down, that emptiness they can't fill without constant applause. Let me share a quick story from my own life to drive this home. Early in my career, I worked with a colleague who was textbook classic narcissist. Charming as all get out in public, always the star of the show, but behind closed doors, he'd undermine anyone who threatened his spotlight. Took credit for group efforts, threw tantrums if questioned. It wore on the whole team, created this toxic vibe where no one felt valued. And you know what? He climbed the ladder fast because that bravado impressed the higher-ups. But eventually, it caught up. People left, projects failed, and his empire crumbled. That's the thing, this behavior might get short-term wins, but long-term, it destroys everything around them, including themselves. So if you're nodding along, thinking of someone in your life, ask yourself, do they always need to be the hero of every story? Do they explode at the tiniest hint of critique? Are your interactions all about feeding their ego? If yes, you're likely dealing with a classic narcissist. And remember, spotting them is power. You don't have to engage. You can set those boundaries and protect your peace. The classic narcissist is easy to spot once you know the signs. But the real danger often lies with the one you don't see coming. The one who plays the victim. That's the covert narcissist, and we're unmasking them next. All right, let's shift gears to a type that's a lot sneakier, the one that hides in plain sight. The covert narcissist is much more subtle. They aren't loud and brash like the classic ones we talked about. These people tend to come across as depressed, victimized, sullen, and sad. I call them backdoor narcissists because they slip in through the side entrance, not kicking down the front door. But make no mistake, they have all the same traits. They still think they're the smartest person in the room. They just play the victim to get their supply. It's like they're wearing a disguise, acting all wounded and overlooked, but underneath, it's the same entitlement, the same need for admiration. Trust me, I've seen this up close in my 45 years of dealing with folks like this. They'll draw you in with their sob stories, making you feel like you're the only one who truly understands them, but it's all a setup to feed their ego. You might be thinking, how do I spot someone like this? Well, let's break it down because these signs aren't as flashy, but they're just as damaging. First off, they're the professional victim. They are paranoid malcontents that complain about everything, playing the victim card like it's their full-time job. They play the but-for game. But for the world being against me, I'd be a huge success. Everything's always someone else's fault. The boss, the family, the system. Nothing ever goes right for them. and they'll tell you all about it, sucking you into their pity party. It's exhausting because it's never ending. They don't take responsibility. Instead, they paint themselves as the eternal underdog, overlooked and underappreciated. But listen, this isn't genuine hardship. It's a tactic to get you to prop them up, to give them that admiration they crave without them having to ask for it outright. I've had people on my show describe relationships like this, where they're constantly reassuring their partner, only to realize later it's all about feeding that hidden narcissism. And here's where it gets really tricky. They're masters of passive aggression. They won't confront you head on like a classic narcissist might. No, they use the silent treatment, sarcasm, and forgetting things on purpose. They will snipe at you indirectly and behind your back. Picture this: you're excited about a promotion at work, and instead of congratulating you, they give you that half smile and say something like, "Must be nice to have things handed to you." It's not a direct attack, but it cuts deep, making you second guess yourself. Or they'll forget important dates or promises, then act all innocent when you call them on it. This is their way of controlling the situation without looking like the bad guy. It's sneaky, and it leaves you feeling confused and guilty, like you're the one overreacting. In my experience, this passive aggression is a hallmark. It's how they express their resentment without owning up to it. They'll gossip about you to mutual friends or undermine your ideas in subtle ways, all while maintaining that victim facade. Now, don't get me started on the humble brag. This is a classic move. They say something that seems self-deprecating, but the real purpose is to fish for compliments. "Oh, I look terrible today," just so you'll say, "No, you look great." It's not genuine humility, it's a ploy to get you to stroke their ego. They'll downplay their achievements in a way that invites praise, like, "I didn't even try that hard on this project, but somehow it turned out okay." And before you know it, you're reassuring them, telling them how talented they are. It's manipulative because it flips the script. You end up admiring them without them seeming boastful. I've seen this play out in families where one person constantly fishes for validation, draining everyone around them. It's all about getting that narcissistic supply without the overt showmanship. Another big red flag is their hypersensitivity to criticism. They are incredibly hypersensitive to criticism. If you question them, they don't get angry like the classic, they get wounded. They make you feel guilty for hurting their feelings. Even the mildest feedback sets them off, not with rage, but with sulking or withdrawing, making you the villain for attacking them. Say you gently point out something they could improve, and suddenly they're the hurt puppy, and you're left apologizing. This is because their ego is so fragile, any critique feels like a personal assault. They'll hold on to it, maybe bring it up later as proof of how mistreated they are. It's a way to deflect and turn the focus back to their pain. Trust me, if you're always walking on eggshells, afraid of setting them off, that's a sign you're dealing with this type. Let me tell you, these covert types know exactly who to target. They find people that have caring hearts, giving hearts. They find empathetic people who see a wounded bird and think, maybe I can help them. If you're a fixer, someone who wants to rescue others, you're prime real estate for them. They'll draw you in with their apparent vulnerability, making you feel special for being the one who gets them. But once you're hooked, it's all take and no give. They exploit your kindness, draining your energy while giving nothing back. I've counseled so many folks who've fallen into this trap, thinking they're helping, only to realize they're being used. It's heartbreaking because empathetic people are the ones who suffer the most, feeling guilty for even considering walking away. I want to share something personal here to really drive this home. I've said before that I think my own father was a covert narcissist. He could never say, "I'm proud of you," not once, because anything that took attention away from him and put it on me, he felt was at his expense. Growing up, I achieved a lot, scholarships, degrees, successes in my career, but he never acknowledged it. It was like any shine on me dimmed his light. He'd snipe indirectly, maybe with a backhanded comment or just silence. It wasn't loud criticism, it was this quiet withholding that made you feel small. Looking back, it fits the pattern: the victim mentality, the passive aggression, the inability to celebrate others. It taught me a lot about how these traits can poison relationships, even family ones. If you're nodding along, thinking of someone in your life, know that you're not alone. I've been there too. Whether they're loud or quiet, their goal is the same: to get what they want at your expense. Now we're moving from spotting them to the $1,000,000 question: can they ever truly change? All right, let's tackle the question that's burning in so many minds out there. This is the one I get hit with more than any other. From folks hanging on by a thread in these toxic relationships. They're thinking, if I just love them enough, if I'm patient enough, if they finally get some therapy, maybe they'll turn it around. They're clinging to that hope like it's the last life raft in a storm. But let me be straight with you. I've been in this field for over 45 years, and I've seen it play out time and again, so let's cut right to the chase. The prognosis. It's just not good. And trust me, I'm not being pessimistic here. I'm just laying out the reality as it is, based on what the experts and the research show us. These folks with narcissistic traits or full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, they don't wake up one day and decide to flip the script because someone asked nicely. No, the roadblocks to real change are massive, and they're built right into the core of who they are. Let's break it down, because understanding this could save you years of heartache. First off, the biggest hurdle staring us in the face is that they don't think anything's wrong with them. That's right, they see their behavior as normal, even justified. In fancy psychological terms, personality disorders like this are egocentric, meaning it all feels right to them. It's just how they are. They cruise through life convinced the problem is always everyone else. You're too sensitive. The world's unfair. Nobody gets them. Why would they change something that in their mind isn't broken? I've had people on my show pour their hearts out, begging their narcissistic partner to see the damage they're causing, and it's like talking to a brick wall. They nod, maybe even apologize in the moment, but deep down, they believe they're the victim, not the villain. Research backs this up. Narcissists often lack the self-awareness to even recognize their patterns as harmful. Without that starting point change, it's like trying to fix a car that doesn't know it's got a flat tire. And speaking of that, let's talk about the glaring lack of empathy. True, lasting change requires you to step into someone else's shoes, to really feel the pain you've inflicted and want to make it right. But narcissists, they just don't have that wiring. They can't grasp the hurt they're causing because it's all about their world, their needs. No remorse, no guilt. Just a void where that emotional connection should be. I've seen it destroy families: a parent who belittles their kids' dreams, a spouse who gaslights until you're questioning your sanity. How do you change without feeling the weight of what you've done? Studies show this empathy deficit is a core trait, making it incredibly hard for them to build the motivation needed for real transformation. It's not that they're choosing to be cold, it's baked into the disorder. Now, sometimes they'll dip a toe into therapy, and you might get your hopes. Finally, they're getting help. But here's the twist. Often, they turn therapy into a weapon. They show up, learn the lingo, pick up on how to fake empathy or talk the talk, and then use it to manipulate even better. It's like giving a con artist a masterclass in charm. I've counseled couples where the narcissist comes back from a session spouting all the right words. I hear you. I validate your feelings. But it's all surface level, a tool to keep you hooked without any real shift inside. Experts warn that without genuine buy-in, therapy just becomes another arena for their games. They mimic progress to get what they want, but the core issues untouched. And don't get me started on the narcissistic injury. Real change means admitting you're flawed, that you've been wrong, maybe even that you're not the center of the universe. To a narcissist, that's like dropping a bomb on their entire sense of self. It shatters them. They call it a narcissistic injury, and they'll do anything to dodge it, blame you, rage out, or bail altogether. Their ego is so fragile underneath that bravado. Facing the truth feels like annihilation. I've watched it happen. Someone gets close to a breakthrough and bam, they shut down or lash out. Research confirms this defensive wall is why so many drop out of treatment early. They avoid that pain at all costs, even if it means staying stuck. Look, I know this sounds bleak and you're probably wondering if there's any hope at all. Is it impossible? Well, nothing's truly impossible in this life. But for a narcissist to truly change, they'd have to hit rock bottom. I'm talking lose everything, the job, the family, the reputation, the whole facade crumbling around them. That kind of wake-up call might finally crack through the denial. Then they'd need years of intensive, specialized therapy with a pro who gets narcissism inside and out, not just any counselor, but someone equipped to handle the manipulation and push for real accountability. And above all, they'd have to want it more than anything, driven by an internal fire, not just to win someone back. I've seen rare cases where it happens. Someone faces the abyss, digs deep, and starts building empathy and self-awareness from the ground up. But let me be clear, it's incredibly rare, backed by studies showing low success rates without that perfect storm. Most don't make it that far. Let me share a story from my own experiences to drive this home. Early in my career, I worked with a guy who fit this bill perfectly. Charming on the outside, but he'd burned every bridge with his entitlement and lack of remorse. His wife left, kids cut him off, job gone. He hit that rock bottom hard. For the first time, he admitted, "Doc Phil, I see now, it's me." We dove into therapy, unpacking the wounds that built his walls, teaching him to feel for others. It took years, but he changed, started repairing relationships, owning his mistakes. But folks, that's the exception, not the rule. Most narcissists bounce back to old patterns because change hurts too much. So if you're out there holding your breath, waiting for them to magically transform, you're going to suffocate. You ain't going to change these people. No amount of love or patience will do it if they don't see the need. The real power move. Shift your focus from fixing them to protecting you. Build those walls, set those boundaries, and reclaim your life. That's the path to freedom, and trust me, it's worth it. All right, let's get real about something that's tripping up so many of you out there. You've got this person in your life, a narcissist, whether classic or covert, and you're convinced that if you just try hard enough, love them enough, explain things clearly enough, you can turn them around. You think you're going to rescue them, pull them out of their mess, and everything will be sunshine and rainbows. Trust me, you're not. They don't want to be rescued. They want to wallow in their victimhood or their grandiosity, feeding off the drama and the attention it brings them. So you have to stop trying to be their savior. I've seen this play out too many times on my show and in my practice. Folks pouring their hearts and souls into fixing someone who isn't interested in changing. It's like trying to bail out the ocean with a teaspoon. Exhausting, pointless, and it leaves you drowning. Let me tell you why this matters. Your energy is a finite resource. Every ounce of energy you spend trying to fix them is an ounce you're not spending on yourself, your kids, your career, or your own happiness. Think about it. How many hours have you lost analyzing their moods, making excuses for their outbursts, or replaying conversations in your head, hoping next time it'll be different? That's time stolen from you. I remember a woman on my show who spent years tiptoeing around her narcissistic husband, always thinking, if I just support him more, he'll see how much I care. She was drained, her kids were suffering, and her own dreams forgotten. Don't let that be you. Shift that focus back where it belongs, on building your life, not rebuilding theirs. Now, let's talk about why your efforts backfire every single time. First off, you're enabling the behavior. Every time you make an excuse for them, every time you clean up their messes, every time you accept a non-apology like, "I'm sorry you feel that way," you are teaching them that their behavior is acceptable. You're rewarding it plain and simple. They learn that they can act out, manipulate, or steamroll over you, and you'll still be there picking up the pieces. It's like giving a kid candy every time they throw a tantrum. You're just guaranteeing more tantrums. I've dealt with countless families where one person's narcissism runs the show because everyone else is too busy enabling it to keep the peace. But peace at what cost? you're not helping, you're perpetuating the cycle. And here's the kicker: they see your help as weakness, your empathy, your desire to help. They don't see that as a strength. They see it as a weakness to be exploited. They think, great, this person will put up with anything. It's ruthless, but that's how they operate. They feed off your kindness, twisting it to their advantage. Remember, narcissists lack empathy. They can't truly appreciate your efforts because it's all about them. In my 45 years in this field, I've seen empathetic people, givers, fixers, get absolutely crushed by this dynamic. You offer support and they take it as permission to demand more. It's not gratitude you get back, it's entitlement. They spot your caring heart from a mile away and zero in on it like a shark sensing blood in the water. You can't love a personality disorder away. This isn't a bad mood. This isn't a rough patch that a little TLC will smooth over. This is a deeply ingrained, pervasive pattern of behavior wired into who they are. You cannot love it out of them any more than you could love away diabetes or heart disease. It requires real internal work on their part, therapy, self-reflection, a willingness to change, and as we've talked about, that's rare. They don't see the problem because in their world, everything's fine as long as they're getting their supply. I've had guests beg me, Dr. Phil, if I just stay and show them love, they'll come around. But love isn't a cure for narcissism, it's fuel for their fire. They twist it, use it against you, and leave you emptier than before. Trust me, pouring more love into a black hole won't fill it. It'll just suck you in deeper. Let me ask you this, have you ever caught yourself thinking, if I explain it one more time, they'll get it? Or maybe you've rehearsed speeches in the mirror, hoping to finally break through. Be honest with me in the comments. How's that working out? You're not alone if it's leaving you frustrated and depleted. So many of you have shared stories just like this, feeling like you're the only one fighting for the relationship while they sit back unmoved. It's heartbreaking, but recognizing it is power. You're not failing them, they're choosing not to step up. That's where the power of radical acceptance comes in. Radical acceptance is when you stop fighting reality. You look at the person, you see all the signs we've talked about, the grandiosity, the entitlement, the lack of empathy, the manipulation, and you say to yourself, this is who they are. They are not going to change. It's not about condoning it, excusing it, or giving up on hope entirely. It's about acknowledging the truth so you can make a clear-headed decision about what to do next. Without acceptance, you're stuck in denial, wasting energy on fantasies of what could be. With it, you free yourself to focus on what is. I've seen radical acceptance transform lives. One man I worked with had a narcissistic boss who constantly undermined him, taking credit for his ideas and blaming him for failures. He kept thinking, if I prove myself more, it'll stop. But once he accepted, this is who he is, it's not about me, he stopped overworking to please the unpleasable. He set boundaries, documented everything, and eventually moved on to a better role. It wasn't easy, but it was liberating. Radical acceptance isn't defeat, it's clarity. It lets you grieve the relationship you wished for and build the one you deserve with yourself or healthier people. Let me share a bit from my own journey to drive this home. Early on, I dealt with folks who fit this bill, arrogant, always shifting blame, impossible to reason with. I thought my expertise could crack them open, but time and again I'd see the same patterns, denial, deflection, no real change. It taught me that you can't force insight on someone who doesn't want it. Radical acceptance saved me from burnout. If you're nodding along, thinking of that person draining you, know this: accepting the truth isn't giving up. It's your first step to freedom. It shifts the power back to you. Once you accept that you cannot change them, the question becomes, how do I protect myself? This isn't about fighting fire with fire. It's about building a fireproof house. Next, we're building the walls, your boundaries. All right, this is the part where you get out a pen. This is the practical rubber meets the road stuff. These are the strategies you use to stop being a victim and start being the CEO of your own life. We've talked about spotting these folks, the classic show-offs and the sneaky covert types. And we've hit that hard truth that changing them is like trying to move a mountain with a spoon. But here's where the real power kicks in. It's all about you. You can't control them, but you can damn sure control how you respond, how you protect your space, and how you reclaim your peace. I've been doing this for over 45 years, and let me tell you, the folks who grab these tools and run with them, they come out the other side stronger, freer, like they've shed 100-pound weight. So let's dive in, because this isn't theory. This is your battle plan. First off, you have to set boundaries of steel. These are not suggestions. A boundary is a clear statement of what you will and will not accept, and the consequence if it's violated. If you raise your voice at me, this conversation is over, and I will leave the room, and then you have to do it every time. Now, I know what you're thinking. Easier said than done, right? Narcissists don't respect boundaries. They see them as a challenge, something to bulldoze through with guilt trips or rage. But here's the key: boundaries aren't about them changing. They're about you enforcing what you deserve. Start small if you need to. Maybe it's saying, I won't discuss my personal life with you anymore. And when they push, you walk away. No debate, no second chances in that moment. Research shows that firm, consistent boundaries are essential for protecting yourself from manipulative behaviors, because they cut off the narcissist's access to your emotional reactions. I've seen it on my show. Folks who stick to this, they stop the cycle. One woman told me her narcissistic ex would show up unannounced, demanding time with the kids. She set a boundary: visits only on scheduled days, or the door stays closed. She enforced it. And guess what? He backed off because the drama fuel was gone. But you gotta follow through. Every slip gives them an inch, and they'll take a mile. Trust me, it's not rude, it's self-respect. And if they rage or play victim, that's on them, not you. You're just drawing the line where it belongs. Next, become a gray rock. When you have to interact with them, become as boring as a gray rock. Give short, factual, unemotional answers. Don't share personal information. Don't share your feelings. You are giving them zero emotional supply to feed on. This is gold, folks, especially if cutting ties isn't an option, like with a co-parent or a boss. Narcissists thrive on your reactions. They poke and prod to get that emotional hit, that validation. They're the center of your world. By going gray rock, you're starving them out. Keep responses neutral. Okay, noted, or I'll think about it. No details, no debates. Experts call this emotional detachment, and it works because it makes you uninteresting, deflecting their manipulation without confrontation. I remember counseling a guy whose narcissistic sister would bait him into arguments at family gatherings, twisting his words to make him look bad. He started gray rocking short answers, no eye contact, zero emotion. She lost interest fast, moved on to easier targets. But watch out, it might amp up their efforts at first, like a tantrum when the toy's taken away. If it escalates to threats or danger, get safe and get help. Otherwise, stay the course. It's like turning off the spotlight they crave. Practice in the mirror if you have to make yourself that dull, immovable rock. It's not weakness, it's strategy, pure and simple. Then stop JADEing. Stop justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining yourself. They will use your explanations as ammunition against you. No is a complete sentence. Oh man, this one's a game changer. Narcissists love dragging you into endless debates, twisting your words until you're doubting your own sanity. Every time you justify or explain, you're handing them more rope to hang you with. Cut it off at the source. Say no and mean it. No backstory, no apologies. This ties right into boundaries. It's about owning your decisions without feeding their need for control. Studies on narcissistic manipulation highlight how avoiding these traps prevents escalation and protects your mental space. I've had guests who spent years explaining themselves to narcissistic partners, only to get gaslit harder. One man finally said to his controlling wife, "I'm not discussing this," and ended the call. No argument, no defense. She raged, but he held firm, and over time, the power shifted. It's liberating, frees up all that energy you've been wasting on their games. Remember, you don't owe them your reasoning. Your no stands alone, and that's powerful. Now, document everything. Keep a log. Write down the gaslighting comments, the insults, the lies. This isn't to show them. It's for you. It's your anchor to reality when they're trying to make you think you're crazy. Narcissists are masters of rewriting history, making you question what really happened. That log is your truth serum. Note dates, times, exact words. Stick to facts. This isn't just for legal stuff, though it can be a lifesaver in custody battles or HR complaints. It's for your sanity, a reminder that you're not imagining things. Therapists recommend this as a way to combat the confusion and self-doubt that come with narcissistic abuse. I tell folks all the time, one woman kept a journal of her narcissistic boss's undermining emails. When doubt crept in, she'd read it and remember the pattern. It gave her the strength to report it and move on. Keep it private, maybe in a secure app. It's your shield against their distortions, proof that your reality is valid. Finally, create healthy distance if you need to create distance. This might mean low contact or, in some cases, no contact. You have to give yourself permission to not feel badly about this. Not every relationship is salvageable, especially when it's draining your soul. Low contact could be limiting talks to essentials like kid logistics via text. No contact, that's the nuclear option for when the toxicity is too much. Give yourself grace. It's not abandonment, it's survival. Research backs this. Reducing exposure minimizes the emotional toll and breaks the manipulation cycle. I've seen lives transform this way. A daughter went low contact with her narcissistic mom, only responding to emergencies. The guilt faded and her peace grew. If it's a coworker, keep it professional and minimal. Family, structured visits on your terms. Whatever it takes, prioritize your well-being. You're not obligated to endure abuse just because of blood or history. These tools are about taking your power back. It's about changing the only person you can, yourself. This leads us to the real end game, your own happiness. All right, let's wrap this up the way it deserves. We've walked through the minefield together, spotting those toxic personalities, understanding just how sneaky they can be, facing the hard truth that change isn't likely, and arming you with the strategies to shield yourself. You've got the knowledge now, and that's your superpower. But here's where it all comes together. The real win isn't about them anymore. It's about you. For too long, your world has revolved around that person, their mood swinging like a wrecking ball, their endless needs pulling you under, their drama sucking the air out of every room. You've been on high alert, anticipating the next explosion or manipulation, always putting out fires that weren't yours to fight. Let me tell you, that's no way to live. It's like being a puppet on strings you didn't even know were there. The ultimate truth. Your focus shapes your entire life. Shift it off them and back onto you and everything changes. You start building something real, something solid, something that's yours. Think about it. You've been so busy managing their chaos that you've forgotten what it feels like to manage your own peace. Strengthen that relationship with yourself. Be your own best friend. If a dear friend came to you pouring out a story of being belittled, gaslit, and drained dry, what would you say? Get out of there! You deserve so much better! Right? You'd wrap them in support, remind them of their worth, and help them walk away. So why on earth are you letting this happen to you? Treat yourself with that same fierce kindness. You've earned it. Start small. Maybe it's carving out time each day just for you, no apologies. Read that book, take that walk, chase that dream you've shelved, rebuild from the inside out. And listen, this isn't about revenge or proving a point. It's about reclaiming your energy. You've poured so much into a black hole, hoping for a return that never came. Now pour it into yourself. Watch how your confidence grows, how your boundaries solidify, how joy creeps back in. I've seen it happen time and again. Folks who've been through the ringer, emerging stronger, wiser, unbreakable. One woman I worked with had spent years diminishing herself for a narcissistic partner who made her feel invisible. Once she shifted her focus, she rediscovered her passions, built new friendships, and found a peace she hadn't known in decades. That's the payoff of life, where you're the star, not the sidekick. Redefine what success looks like for you. It's not about dragging an apology out of them. That's like squeezing water from a stone. It's not about them finally admitting you were right or seeing the error of their ways. Those fantasies keep you hooked, spinning your wheels in the past. Real success, it's crafting a life so full of peace and joy that their words, their actions, their very existence no longer rattle you. Your indifference becomes your armor. They thrive on reaction, starve them of it. Imagine waking up without that knot in your stomach, without replaying old arguments in your head. That's freedom. That's victory. And it starts with choosing you every single day. Let me paint a picture from my own life to drive this home. Early in my career, I dealt with some real energy vampires. Folks who demanded the spotlight, twisted every situation to their advantage, and left everyone else depleted. I poured time and effort into trying to help them, thinking my insights could turn things around. But it was like talking to a wall. Finally, I shifted my focus. What do I need? How do I protect my peace? That change didn't just save my sanity, it propelled me forward. I built boundaries, pursued my goals, and surrounded myself with people who lifted me up. If I hadn't made that pivot, who knows where I'd be? You've got that same power. Use it. Now, ask yourself, what does focusing on me look like today? Maybe it's saying no to that draining phone call, or yes to that hobby you've neglected. Maybe it's seeking out therapy to unpack the baggage, or joining a support group where folks get it. Build habits that nourish you, exercise that clears your mind, meditation that centers your spirit, relationships that reciprocate your care. And remember, healing isn't linear. There'll be days when old wounds ache, when doubt creeps in. That's okay. Acknowledge it, then redirect back to you. Your worth isn't defined by how they treated you. It's inherent, unbreakable. You've survived the storm, now thrive in the calm after. Surround yourself with positivity, chase what lights you up, and watch how the world opens. You're not just recovering, you're reinventing. That's the real payoff. Now, that's all the time we have for today. In our next episode, we're going to do a deep dive on the most dangerous type of all, the malignant narcissist. These are the dark triad dwellers, and you need to know how to spot them for your own safety. I'm doing this because I really want to have an impact on all of you and all of your lives. Share this with one person you think needs to hear it. Let me have your comments. Let me have your questions. I appreciate you spending this time with me.